Today we're going to answer the age-old question. Do girls prefer nice guys? Now, there's a huge cultural phenomena that states that nice guys finish last, girls prefer assholes, and just assuming that girls don't actually like nice guys. However, there's a lot of nuance to this argument. Yes, I think there is some truth to what people are suggesting. However, you never really hear things from a female's perspective. So I thought today I'd bring one of the most level-headed and intelligent women that I know onto the channel to speak about her views and thoughts on this topic and help us answer this question that you probably didn't care about before watching this video, but suddenly decided to click onto it because I clickbaited you somehow with showing you a hot female. So yes, this is my thirst trap right here.
Very thirsty.
Yes, many thirsty humans watching this, including me.
Like we were talking about before, and we were saying like, what's the definition of like a nice guy versus like a chode or someone who's simping, or we're kind of going through what's the difference.
Yeah,
because I feel like they can sometimes be put together into the same box when, to me at least, and from what it sounds like when we were talking about it before, you agree, they're two different things, but they kind of get put together quite often.
I think she's actually right. I think we should define what we mean by nice guy first. I can very safely say that women much prefer nice, like genuinely nice guys. But when I say a nice guy, I don't mean someone who is supplicating and just over expressing the nicer qualities of himself, or even putting her needs before his own in order to get her to like him. I'm talking about someone who has genuinely good intentions. Women prefer guys who are genuinely nice and have good intentions for other people. But what women are repulsed by are guys who are supplicating and pretending to be really nice and chivalrous in order to get her to like them. They think, oh, I need to be agreeable. I need to just say that everything she does is perfect. Just always compliment her, be nice to her. When guys do this, it implies to women that the guy is putting her on a pedestal. What a woman wants is someone who sees her for the human being that she is. So if you're someone who comes from a really low self-esteem place and you think you need to treat women like these Disney princesses, that they're perfect in every way, that you need to be chivalrous, and you forget to see her for the human being she is, this is going to be really unattractive to her. Because in the end, it's an act, and women can't trust someone who only shows nice things about themselves. So if you're only complimenting her, you're too agreeable, you agree with everything she says, and just everything she does is perfect. She goes, man, this guy doesn't really see me as a human being. This guy is just trying so hard in order to get me to like him, but he's not actually showing me who he is. Or he's too afraid to express himself authentically because he's so afraid of breaking rapport with me and having me potentially not like him. So if you're doing everything you can in order to try to get someone to like you, then this is going to be really unattractive to women because they can't trust you. They don't know who you are. They don't know the other sides of you. See, a lot of time when a guy's coming from that paradigm, when he's like, I just need to treat her like a princess, he sees someone, say, teasing a girl, right? Giving her a negative emotional spike. He sees that and he goes, oh, you're a asshole. Like, how dare you? Like, he gives her a bit of a tease, or he playfully challenges her, and he sees that as a negative thing. He's like, oh, girls only like assholes. It's like, no. When someone is comfortable teasing a woman, what is this implying to her? It's implying that he's not putting her on a pedestal. He's not trying too hard to get her to like him. He's comfortable breaking rapport with her in order to express his own sense of humor, because his own happiness is more important than her liking him. And someone who is more confident in themselves is totally comfortable with someone not necessarily liking them in order to express himself more authentically, because someone who has high self-esteem knows that if he has to pretend to be someone he's not in order to get someone to like him, then that's just not a good long-term strategy, because at some point the true self is going to come out. So this is the difference between nice guys, in terms of nice guys who are just trying everything they can in order to get girls to like them and who are super supplicating, and an actual genuine nice guy who is comfortable expressing negative things and telling girls the truth and what he actually thinks and disagreeing with her, and not seeing her as this perfect being and instead seeing her as this flawed human that she is and that we all are, but also has great intentions for her. That's where we often get mixed up. We often think that, girls like arseholes because girls tend to respond very positively to teasing and challenging and things like this. But it's not that they want a guy who's an arsehole. They just want someone who is comfortable to express themselves honestly in her presence. And when someone is comfortable doing this, it's a really attractive trait to her because she's like, oh, finally, someone who's not acting in order to get me to like him. Because you need to understand, and you can probably agree with this, Narelle, that the life of an attractive woman is very weird in some ways. Like, a lot of the time, she has a lot of dudes being super incongruent, acting in order to get her to like them. So many dudes are not going to be authentic and honest in her presence because they just care so much about her opinion of them because they want her so badly. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on everything that I've just said, Narelle. See if you actually agree with me or not.
Well, in terms of that last part, I don't know if I have had enough interactions or partners to know whether they're acting. It's hard to know entirely. So I can't really comment on that too much. I'm sweating so much.
Yeah,
Can
me
you see
too.
the drift? It's
Thank you for putting it on my new shirt. That's great.
No, I did the inside of it. It's
fine.
fine.
It's fine.
No, but in terms, like, there's kind of like three categories. There's like the nice guys that are authentic. There's the nice guys that are inauthentic because they're kind of people pleasing. And then there's boys. There's kind of like three categories. So to me, there's the authentic nice guys where they respect the other person. They are authentic to themselves, but they're also just living a life in line with how they want to be. And they're not trying to behave in a way that's going to please someone else entirely. Maybe to a really small degree, but that's not their life. Whereas you have the inauthentic nice guys, which is probably where we see the stereotype the most, where they're kind of like simping. They're maybe more like a chode kind of thing, where they do everything they can to please someone else to try and make them like them. And that's the side of the nice guy that I think females, or at least me like I can speak for myself, that I don't find that attractive. And you can usually catch it out quite easily. I guess that's kind of like what we were talking about before, but yeah. And then we have boys, where the way, I guess, stereotypically I would say a boy would be is someone who is similar to the nice guy, where they're the authentic nice guy. They're authentic in how they behave because they're able to just behave freely how they want to, but then maybe they lose the respect factor for the other person. That's how I would kind of understand maybe those three different categories that we've just made up. But that's how I see it, at least. And I guess for me personally, I would ideally want a partner who... well, I have a partner at least that I would say is more in the nice guy category that is authentic, but just so happens to be, well, yeah, it just means that, yeah.
What she's saying is, I'm not a boy, I'm a man. It's different.
Yeah. No, but we were talking about it before, where I was saying that, yeah, like technically, stereotypically, maybe people would see you as a boy to do with how many intimate interactions you've had in time, like in the past, and whatever else. But there's a difference between being a boy and you're just like slaying all these bitches. This sounds terrible. There's a difference between a boy that's just going around and they're just having all these intimate interactions with people, but they treat them with disrespect, versus someone who has lots of intimate moments with different people, but they treat them respectfully for whatever that moment or time is, however long it lasts for. Like whether it's a one moment, like 20-minute interaction versus a few hours, few days, weeks, months, who knows. But you treat them with respect in that moment, whatever it may be. There's a big difference. So technically, I would say you still fall into the nice guy, authentic category that I've made up as a thing, which I would say, at least for the people I surround myself with, I would say that they go for that same category. I can't speak for everyone, but I would say for most people that are working on themselves and they want to take care of themselves and they respect themselves, they'd be attracted to and they'd want to go for that kind of person, if that makes sense. We've
Yep.
completely made up these categories. I don't know if it's a real thing, but we can pretend it is.
I think it's an easy way to
Logically,
categorize it.
Logically, it makes sense to me.
As you can see, I have been categorized as a nice guy,
But authentic.
and that is now
who has some interactions
part of our law.
with people.
I'm a nice guy. And Narelle's completely right. I just want to give a little bit more context, I think, to the boy category that she's describing too. So the reason why sometimes let's say the boy, but I'm going to say the asshole. I'm going to call it the asshole because I don't think boy is a fair way to describe it. I'm going to call it the asshole because
it's like a
it is the genuine asshole. He's authentic around her because he's not attached to the outcome. He doesn't care necessarily that much about whether she likes him or not. So he has that detachment, authentic side of him, which is attractive, which is also what's attractive about the authentic nice guy. But the difference is the intention. So the asshole is the guy who he's detached, he's very expressive, he's very authentic in the way he's expressing himself, but he doesn't have good intentions. He's willing to say lie and manipulate in order to get what he wants, which often in the end is. And there are these guys out there who are detached, so they're expressing that attractive side of things, but they do have bad intentions. But the difference is most girls, when they see traits of a partner who has very low levels of empathy or has bad intentions for her, most women are actually going to be turned off by these traits. Sometimes, say, the asshole has to lie a little bit or express that he likes the girl more than he actually does in order to get what he wants. And that's really what makes the difference between, say, the authentic nice guy and the asshole, is that the authentic nice guy has good intentions for the partners that they have, and women are attracted to this. If you are someone who has genuinely good intentions and you want to leave everyone better off than you found them, and you want to have a good impact on the world, and you care about making those who you care about comfortable, happy, safe, etc., all these positive things, you have good intentions for them, then this is highly attractive to women. And I remember we were talking about it earlier, how you will often assess people, and this is stereotypical, but you'll often assess people for how they treat those around them as to someone's, say, true personality traits.
Yeah.
I think that's a really good example, and I think you should talk about it a little bit here.
No, this sweat is so bad.
No, it's not your sweat, it's my shirt. It's now got on your lip.
Oh.
You've got a little bit of fluff here.
Do I
Let me
really?
get you, baby. I got you. I got you.
Do I look
Okay.
presentable now?
You are worthy once more. As soon as we got out here, the sun
so
comes out.
bright.
Now, I'm literally have sweat dripping down my anus, like my asshole. Like, I can feel each bead of sweat slipping down there, just so you all have a visual representation of it. For my highly imaginative friends.
We're going back to watching people's behaviors from, like, say, the female's perspective.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what we're doing. So for me personally, I see that as really important. And it's something I do for not only, like, say, watching behaviors of people I'm interested in romantically, but also people I want to be involving in my life as just, like, friends or co-workers or acquaintances. Like, for me, I'm quite selective with who I interact with and who I give my time to, and the best way to assess if they're the right people to have around you is to watch how they behave and interact with others and the world. I guess why I start kind of thinking about it and doing it actively and more consciously is since reading some books, I guess, to do with Buddhist monks. And this is a bit nerdy, but they kind of have this belief that people should care about their environment. So, like, say, the space they live in, you should respect your environment that you live in. So the physical location, so your home, the outdoors, any place that you go to. Like, it's like what you said before, you should leave every person the same or better than when you first interacted with them. That should be involving every aspect of your life, not just humans. It should be spaces you live in, places that you go to, people you meet. If you can see people aren't doing that, they're people that you shouldn't be around, whether that be romantically or anything else. So I guess that's the simple, short version of how I select who to spend time with. And I would say that's a big part of why I spend so much time with you. And I prioritize being around you and the people that you surround yourself with.
But what exactly do you notice about, say, myself that makes you go, okay, this guy has good intentions for those around them?
Well, I guess it's really little subtle things that you're probably doing without knowing. So they're probably all unconscious behaviors. I don't think most people probably aren't doing them on purpose. It's just something that I'll take note of. Like, say, you're involving other people in conversation and you're being inviting and you're treating everyone with kindness. You don't always have to be pleasing and making everyone happy, but you make everyone feel involved. It's kind of like how you were saying, like, you can tease people as play. Teasing is not necessarily a bad thing or mean. It's just making life fun. It's just, why not make life a game and enjoyable? And you can do that and turn life with how you interact with others into a game. And that's, I guess, how I would see as teasing. So that's probably why, well, it's like before I was thinking, instead of talking about this, I was like, why is it the females are maybe attracted to boys? Do we talk about that, or do we leave that for later?
Talk about it.
So, like, I would say the reason why people are attracted to that is because they can see that they're authentic and they are behaving how they want to without thinking about other people's opinions. So they see this confidence, they see this person who is an independent human that takes care of themselves. And, like, there's so many, like, good attributes to that. But in turn, there's also potentially the stereotypical not so nice sides where maybe they're disrespectful and it crosses the line of the no care factor goes too far. What else do we say about what you were asking before about behaviors?
I think, again, it just comes down to someone's intentions. If they don't have good intentions for those people, or they don't care about that person's needs at all, they don't put that person's needs into account at all, then yeah, I would say this person classes as more of that asshole category, or what you called the f***boy category. But again, I don't think that's fair. There's nothing wrong with being a f***boy or an ethical f***boy.
I'm not saying that it's a bad thing. It's just a stereotypical word that we use to describe characteristics that people sometimes have. I'm not saying it's like it's necessarily a bad thing. It's just, it's a simple way to describe it.
I agree.
I think it's a nice, like, it's not nice to say it, but, like, I'm not saying it in a mean way, like being a boy is a bad thing. There's actually some good traits there. It's just stereotypically sometimes there's some problematic behaviors that maybe people don't see, or maybe they don't have the self-respect to not accept those behaviors. So they fall into that.
Again, it comes down to their intentions. They need to have that other person's needs in mind. For someone who, say, has good intentions for others, right? Even if that person, say, there's conflict between your needs and the other person's needs, at least you're aware of that other person's needs and you're going to try your best in order to cater for them. Right? Or you're going to be as honest as possible about your desires in contrast to their desires as well, instead of saying lying in order to get what you want or in order to avoid conflict. Okay. And I think that's the real distinguishing factor here, is just, it purely just comes down to your intention. It can sometimes seem as if women are attracted to these asshole behaviors like teasing, authenticity, challenging, things like this, because it can, for someone who's coming from the paradigm of I need to treat women like princesses, I need to treat them like they're perfect. We've probably all seen the neckbeard dude on the internet just typing, oh, if I was with a girl like this, I'd never do anything to hurt her, or I'd never leave her. You see guys post shit like this all the time, but this is an exact antithesis of the nice guy who is inauthentic, because someone is just seeing someone they're attracted to on the internet and they have just instantly gone, you know what? I will devote myself to this girl. I know nothing about her, other than the fact that she is genetically blessed with physically appealing traits. That is the only thing I know about her, but I am willing to devote myself to this woman because I have so little self-respect. Even though I know nothing about her, she could be a genuinely terrible human being, a bad match in terms of a relationship, but I am willing to do anything to appease this woman, and I don't care about my needs at all. That is the exact antithesis of the nice guy who is inauthentic, because he's so desperate for someone who he deems as like a quality girl or an attractive girl, whatever it is, that he literally doesn't even assess her for whether she's a good match. And that's why women find it incredibly unattractive, because it is inauthentic. They cannot trust it. If you think from a biological sense, girls need trust in order to feel comfortable procreating with someone. Because if they feel like they don't understand someone's, say, true desires or needs, it's a really bad investment to procreate with that person. They actually don't know what this person's behaviors are going to be like long term. Whereas if someone's authentic, expressive, able to express the positive sides and also the negative in terms of like comfortable disagreeing with her, comfortable teasing, being more playful, things like this, then this just, again, makes her feel far more comfortable in his presence being physical with him. And the more honest you are and authentic you are in the way you express yourself, the more comfortable a girl will be quicker when it comes to being physical with you as well. You'll find the more comfortably you can express yourself. But the thing is, a lot of the time, guys don't know how to express themselves because they've learned over a lifetime of negative social feedback that they need to be agreeable and do everything they can to be liked by every single person as much as possible, have everyone like them but no one love them, and do everything they can to appease everyone else's needs instead of putting themselves first. This is what a lot of people learn from having negative social feedback from a young age, because a lot of the time when guys are, say, a little bit more loud, express themselves more authentically, they get shut down, they get shamed, they get negative feedback from others, and then all of a sudden they learn to be more submissive, more agreeable, less expressive, less themselves, more quiet, more meek. This is literally where social anxiety comes from. No one would have social anxiety if they genuinely didn't care about the opinions of others. Now, don't get me wrong, having a certain level of awareness of other people's opinions and desire to try your best to meet everyone's needs within reason is a trait that we all have that makes us a socially cohesive society. So we all have some desire to please others and make sure we avoid conflict as much as possible. But when we do everything we can to appease everyone else and we put ourselves last, this is when girls cannot trust us, and this is highly unattractive. I think in the end, what we can say quite confidently is women much prefer nice guys. The average girl does not like assholes. They do not. But a lot of the time we misinterpret indicators of authenticity and expression as indicators that someone's being an asshole or they're being rude, and we misinterpret that as that person being an asshole. And when girls respond positively to guys who have these more honest, authentic traits, that girls like assholes. But they truly don't, on average.
No, I agree. The main problem where it comes to a nice guy that's inauthentic, the reason why that's so unattractive is, like we were saying, like, how do you trust this person? If you are 100% agreeable and 100% nice to me all the time and trying to go out of your way to overinflate the female, whereas if someone is nice but they're authentic, like, they show far more consistency with what they want. If I was to be out dating and meeting people and I came across someone and they were nice, but you would say that they come under like the inauthentic kind of category, it would be really, really difficult to determine whether they truly actually like and appreciate you. Like
this, no, it's desperation.
Yeah, but like, this is good enough and I'll take that. But it's like, who wants to be with someone that's not addicted to you in a healthy way? I would hate to be with someone who's just pretending to like me. Like, I could not think of anything worse.
I think, I know what you're trying to say. I don't think pretending is the best way to describe it, because they're not pretending to. They genuinely, authentically feel like they really like you. But the thing is, because they have no one else or they're unable to get anyone else, they are desperate, and you are the one who they were able to get. So they're like, oh, we'll lock that shit down as soon as possible. Guys do this all the time. They're just, because you're the cutest girl that guy could get, he's like, I gotta lock this girl down. But the thing is, say if a guy commits to you, who's, say, in scarcity, he's not able to get anyone else, you're the cutest chick he can get, he just does everything he can to appease you. You can't trust this, because the thing is, he's gone, I like you, without really assessing you. He doesn't know if you're a good fit for him. He doesn't know if you guys are a good long-term match. He's just gone, you're the cutest girl I can get. I'm locking you down. But
it would put me in a spot where I am this person's choice at this time, but it opens up the idea that if they think they found something better, they'll go off and cheat.
Yes.
And they won't be honest. They won't be like, hey, actually, I don't feel like you're my person. If someone is not behaving authentic, how can you trust them? Like, how can they possibly live consistently in that way and be happy? I don't think pretending to be a certain way or trying to behave a certain way for someone else, how can you possibly live a fun, happy life like that? Long term, you can't. You can only sustain it for a certain amount of time. And I don't know if that's why, like, the whole, like, is a honeymoon period actually a real thing, or is it people are playing pretend happy for a period of time and then actually they get bored?
That is such.
Do you think the honeymoon period is actually fake? It's just they're not the right people for each other.
Yeah, and they're both putting the other person's needs before their own.
I wouldn't say that there's a difference between when we first interacted with how attracted and addicted and a want for you That's no different than what it is now. If anything, it's more. Everyone has always told me that there is and that you have to accept it, but I don't think life needs to be like that. I think that's an indicator that that's not the right person.
If you think about it, the nice guy, the inauthentic nice guy, is actually the asshole because he's selfish as hell, because he's pretending and acting all these different behaviors that he's doing in order to get her to like him, but in the end it's purely selfish so that she'll like him back, and for his own selfish gain, which is get that person to emotionally become attached to him, which thankfully women are far less easy to fool than men think they are. So when you are trying so hard to get someone to like you, girls can see through this instantly, and they instantly go, okay, this person's highly selfish. You see it all the time. It's like a guy will be like, oh, my lady, I'll do anything for you, da-da-da. And then as soon as she's like, yeah, I'm not interested, he's like, you're a fucking slut. You know, it's like, well, obviously you weren't actually that good of a person in the first place, and she made the right decision. But then that person will turn around and still see themselves as the good guy. This is another rabbit hole, but rejection itself is just feedback. And if you take rejection really personally every time, it means you have a huge ego. Because if you take every rejection personally, then man, life is going to be really difficult for you. Because as men, it's our job to approach women and put ourselves out there. And if we're taking every rejection we get as this personal attack on ourselves, man, that's going to be exhausting. And it's also an indicator that you have a huge ego that needs to get destroyed. And that means rejection is exactly what you need. If you start seeing rejection purely as feedback in order to make you improve and help you become a better person, this is far more healthy, and this is how you start winning. But if you're someone who just takes every rejection personally, don't get me wrong, some rejections are going to hurt. It is human being to feel that way. It's going to hurt. But if we take every little small rejection we get as a personal attack, then I see it as a form of entitlement. You think, oh, I don't need to change. Women just need to like me for me. Like, it's the same thing. Guys get so offended when girls are like, they're obese and they're like, I'm perfect the way I am. But those same guys who've never worked on themselves even in the slightest, they haven't worked on their confidence, they haven't worked on expressing themselves more authentically, they haven't worked on becoming more socially and emotionally intelligent, and they're not willing to. There is no difference between that mentality and a girl who's fat and not willing to do anything about it and thinks, oh, I should just be accepted the way I am. Men should just love me the way I am, and my weight shouldn't have anything to do with it. But it's like, no. Biologically, men are more attracted to women who show indicators of youth, fertility, and health. And someone being obese is an indicator of low levels of health, which is highly unattractive. And you can't change biology. It's the exact same for guys who just expect girls to have to be attracted to them just because they're nice to them, but not willing to work on themselves at all, not willing to address their flaws in any way. And if you're getting rejected a lot, it means you have a lot of flaws that need to be addressed. There is a lot going on there. And if you take every rejection super personally, however short the interaction might have been, that means you have a huge ego and you're incredibly entitled, and you think that you are owed sex or owed women when you're not even willing to work on yourself. I don't think you realize the guys who get really good with women are the ones who have the humility to get their ego out of the way. Don't get me wrong, we all have egos and it comes back from time to time. We're humans. So don't expect to be perfect. You can't be perfect. But a guy who's willing to put his ego aside and take rejection as feedback and take on that feedback and learn. Again, sometimes it's going to hurt. That's normal. But if every time you're just destroyed by every rejection, you go into this negative cycle, it's going to be really tough. But it's usually an indicator that there's some work you need to do on yourself in order to become the kind of guy that girls are going to like. Like, we can cry about it. I don't even know. I guess this is actually kind of relevant because a lot of the nice guys actually do have this same entitled but also victim mentality, and they blame the world and they think that they're worthy of, they need it. Girls should like them just because they're nice or just because they exist. But it's like, no, bro, no one owes you anything. It's up to you to take what you want. And if you're going to be the kind of person who cries about it, then that is in itself an unattractive trait, which makes you less desirable to women in the first place, which then will make the entire thing harder for yourself because, again, ironically, you're more likely to be rejected if you are this more negative victim mentality type of person who's just going to blame the world for your problems instead of addressing it yourself. Women are attracted to men who are ambitious, men who see opportunity, men who make see the positive in a bad situation. These are the kind of traits that allowed our species to survive for so long. The ones who give up or blame the world or are never willing to do anything for themselves, these ones in previous generations would have died out because they were never able to look after themselves. The ones who are ambitious, the ones who are happy to improve themselves and aren't going to expect the world to give them anything and are willing to work on themselves, these are traits that are just far more attractive to women across the board. The reason why that's relevant is because a lot of the time I see these nice guys, or now that we've established it, these inauthentic assholes, they blame women for their problems. They blame women for not liking them, even though they're like, oh, I'm really nice to them. Why do they not like nice guys? Why do they not like assholes? It's like, yeah, but dude, you maybe haven't realized that this guy who you deem as an asshole is someone who's really worked on himself, has learned how to be more honest and expressive in his personality, who has put work into improving his social skills, improving his mentality. But all you see on the surface is this guy who might tease a girl and all of a sudden she starts laughing and now she's giving him indicators of interest and you're going, but I was really nice to her. Like, she likes assholes. It's like, no, it doesn't work like that, unfortunately for us. Okay, so it's up to us to take our own destiny into our hands. No one is going to do it for you. And I will say that the journey for me of improving my dating life was the hardest thing I've ever done. It is harder than anything I've done by miles. It is an emotional roller coaster. I started as quite a victim myself, and it's something I had to learn and had to have beaten out of me. Man, there were many nights where I'd go home and cry, which I will talk about some of my experiences in later videos because they're really funny. But yeah, it was hard. It was hard. And I came from that inauthentic nice guy place myself, which is why I feel very comfortable talking about it today. But the thing is, that was not what women wanted because I wasn't actually authentic. I wasn't actually nice. I didn't care as much as I made it seem, or at least I didn't realize that why I was pretending to be nice or why I was being so supplicating. I didn't realize it was coming from a selfish place. Now, don't get me wrong, just as a caveat, do understand that there are some damaged women out there who tend to respond really well to guys who do not put their needs above their own and guys who do show more psychopathic or Machiavellian traits in themselves or narcissistic traits. There are a small minority of women who are attracted to that because of their own trauma, their relationship with their father or men in their past. They believe that this is what, say, relationships or love or high value men look like. And yes, there are going to be a small number of women who do respond really well to guys who are genuinely selfish and don't put their needs above their own. But the vast majority of women, even most of the ones with daddy issues, still prefer guys who have good intentions for them. The vast majority. But there are a small number of girls out there who have really, really, really low self-esteem. In fact, it's so low that when a guy gives them positive reinforcement or gives them the compliments, etc., or shows interest in them, they instantly go, there must be something wrong with this guy because how does he not see how much of a piece of shit I am? Because they just hate themselves so much, they respond very poorly to men who show interest in them. So there are a certain subset of girls out there who respond really well to guys who show very little interest in them, but this is a small minority. You are, ironically, more likely to come into contact with girls like this in nightclubs because those girls tend to be a little bit more stimulation seeking. That's why often you do see guys teaching behaviors that would imply disinterest to girls in these kind of environments because it can be useful for that archetype of girl. But if you are looking for a long-term partner, you're probably not going to want to stay with one of these girls who you need to constantly keep showing disinterest in order to keep her attracted to you because that, man, that's you essentially pretending to be someone you're not in order to get someone. So in the end, the true self is going to shine through. For me personally, in my own way that I want to live my life, I want a girl who's going to like me, even if I tell her and make it very clear that I like her. And most women want a guy who they know likes them back, but they also want a guy who is expressive and honest and authentic and not afraid to disagree, not afraid to challenge, is not afraid to tease her as well and be a little bit more honest in his own expression and not afraid to potentially offend her in order to express himself authentically because he's not putting her liking him above everything else. So guys, that is the video. I'm done now. Thanks for watching. Now, if you are potentially wanting to see more of our content, especially the stuff that we're not willing and allowed to put on YouTube, then make sure to join our free private Facebook group. The link is in the description below. And also, if you're looking for coaching and you want to work with us, then make sure to click the link to jump on a call with us in our description and we can run you through our programs, both our Unleashed online mentorship program or our live 5-day immersion program that you've probably seen our testimonials for on the channel. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching. See you in the next video. And thank Narelle for being in the video too. I had to drag her on here, but you're a sexy prop. All right, guys. Love you.
Did you really vomit on me? Again?
I belched.
That's for another time.
Honey.